I have to do this. I love CCM. I love writing this kind of music, as strange as it might be. I think there was a headline that came out when I started doing interviews for this new song, and I think it was like, a heavy metal Christian singer is not an oxymoron. It's a Matty Mullins. And I thought, man, there's really no better way to put it. I mean, this is me, both hard rock and CCM. I do both, and I love both.
Between the Grooves is hosted by James Curtis, music director and morning man in the Greater Toronto Area on Joy Radio, and Drew Brown, Juno-nominated singer-songwriter and worship leader. Both hope to share insights into Christian music, exploring ministry, message, and everything in between. You can connect with the show at faithstrongtoday.com/betweenthegrooves or via Twitter @betweengrooves. Now, here's James and Drew.
Hey, DB.
Hey, JK. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good.
How was your weekend?
It was pretty chill. It was very relaxing. Lots of movies. Hold on. It started off being brutal because I was trying to finish my taxes.
Huh.
So that part was the worst.
I love doing my taxes.
I hate it. And I'm so bad at numbers. And so once I got past that hurdle, then it was all movies and Netflix and hiking and Oscars. Right. I don't have cable, so I had to watch them through this comedian named Leslie Jones, who's like an SNL actress.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever the term is now. I can't remember. I'm so tired. And what she does is she videotapes it from her phone and just makes fun of everything.
Oh, okay. So that's the coverage you got.
That's the coverage I got. And so I just laughed like the whole entire night. But otherwise than that, it was stressful and then chill. How about you?
It was relatively chill. I mean, I didn't do anything exciting. I did laundry, folks. I did 3-4 loads of laundry. Go. Right? Is that exciting? Wow. Like,
yeah, it can be
the life of JK. And I'd already finished my taxes, so I'm good. Did you finish your taxes? Almost,
yeah. I think there was a few things I was like, oh, I don't have that. I got to realign a few things, and then essentially because I'm Mr. like freelancer. I have 1,000 income sources that I need to sort of like put together, and a lot of American stuff too from last year. So there's a few forms and stuff that I did not get from my American sources, which is fine. Like I can still hand in my taxes.
Right.
And then I take all this stuff to my accountant, who's going to do punch a few things and make sure I didn't do anything wrong. So yeah, I guess essentially I am finished.
Okay, well that's good.
Which is great.
Yeah. It's nice
I'm excited.
It's nice to say I'm done. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Because I hate taxes. I hate doing them.
I just hate doing them. I like doing them because I get money back, and I just like to, analyze and be creative. Not be creative illegally, but be creative.
Wink, wink. Yeah, I gotcha. Don't worry.
But creative. Like, what did I miss? Like, how can I get more money back? Kind of thing. It's like, what did I miss, or did I forget this, or whatever?
That's a fun game.
And just to revisit stuff and say, oh, wait a minute, I forgot to do this, and I got to claim this still. That sort of thing. So
totally.
That's what I like about the tax. It's like seeing that number climb a little bit.
You're like, ooh, more points.
Another $100. I'll take that. Yeah,
exactly.
Now, speaking of multiple income streams, today our guest, we're going to have a great chat with Matty Mullins. Now, this guy's a busy guy. Despite the pandemic, he knows the music industry too, and he's got multiple income streams. So we're going to get into that conversation in just a bit. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit more about income streams in general. And the reason why I thought it'd be a good little chat to have for you and I have is because I just saw an article online about Stephen Page. He's been doing the online concert thing, and he started that as soon as the pandemic started. And he's done about, I guess, 50 shows now because he's been doing it for about a year. And the article basically states that he made $100,000 doing these shows. Basically,
that's amazing.
Like a 90-minute show, charging $8 a head, and I guess it's been popular and it's been growing and stuff. And so his management team has basically said, hey, he was able to generate $100,000. Now, he's a big name, so it's not hard for him to attract the fan base. He's already got an existing fan base. It's not hard to attract people, especially when they're looking for something to watch.
That's right.
But I really don't think online concerts are going away. And I think an artist and a musician is smart to keep that as part of their thing, right? As part of their...
I would agree.
You know?
I would totally agree. I'm actually working on, I've had it before, but now I'm actually making it better. An online recording rig, audio and video. I used to do an online streaming thing, audio-wise, which I would, like package it up and then sell the MP3s on my website the next day, or even sometimes that night.
Right. Now
I'm actually doing like a full-on live stream. So when I can actually play out, I can actually like broadcast everything over Zoom, ticketed, all that kind of stuff. So people can, watch if they want to stay home or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm playing in Windsor, or I'm playing in London, or I'm playing. I think having both in tandem is where the future will lie moving forward. I fully agree.
Yeah.
All-in shows are not going anywhere anytime soon.
It may not be how much, you may not make the same kind of income that you would with a live show and people participating there. And maybe the merch sales will be a little different for an online gig as well. Like people may not necessarily go to buy the merch right away, but if they know your website, they can buy it after the fact, and that's all that really matters. Because in a live show, of course, you have the table set up, you've got the big setup where you either are behind the booth or you've got people running it for you, and you can sell stuff. Like people walk out of the concert, or even intermission or before the show starts, they can look at all the stuff you've got. It's like, oh, that's $5. I'm going to pick that up, or plan to get this T-shirt or whatever else. Whereas it's a little different, obviously, for an online scenario selling stuff, right? But you can still do it. So
you can still do it, and you can create like a incentive added feature to the online thing. So if you say, hey, the ticket price is $10. But with that, you get, let's say, 15% off a merch item.
Sure.
Or, your total. So you can kind of make a really cool deal out of it to kind of incentivize. I made up a new word.
Yeah.
I'm so talented.
Hashtag that.
Well, I think that's a great way to kind of make that kind of online merch thing work with your online show.
Sure, absolutely. Well, it is time for us to get between the grooves with our pal, our buddy, Matty Mullins. As I said before, this guy is pretty busy. He knows the music industry, and we're going to find out a little bit about what he's been up to, especially with the multiple income streams that he's been utilizing over the last year. I can hear you great. Let's bring up the level here. Don't you love technology?
I do. Oh man, I mean, we've just really been forced to figure this kind of stuff out with the pandemic, so it's working out.
Yeah, for sure. So, Drew, this is Matty Mullins.
Hey, Matty Mullins.
Drew, great to meet you.
Likewise, dude. Likewise.
I guess my introduction to Matty was, maybe your song Unstoppable?
Yeah, okay.
And then from there, you've had great songs like The Best Is Yet to Come, No Hold on Me, and of course your latest track, Show You to the Cross. They're all great, great songs.
Hey, thank you so much.
So what have you been doing all your life?
Yeah.
Hey, Matty.
Yes, sir.
Before you answer that question, I just want to make sure that you're the guy from the Mayfire band, right? Yep,
Memphis May Fire. That's right.
Good Lord, dude. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Yeah. So I play and I've been in the same band, Memphis May Fire, for the last 15 years, toured all over the world, and still very much doing that. Not touring, obviously, but the band is still in full motion. So, when we finished up, it was a few albums ago, we finished up an album called Unconditional. I was in a really hard season of my life, and was just figuring out what it meant to have a relationship with Jesus that wasn't just, my parents' relationship with Jesus that I had kind of adopted as a child. And I ended up with all of these leftover lyrics from the record that weren't going to work for a metal album. And I was like, man, I really want to do a solo record. And so I did. And I've always loved Christian radio. That's been a passion of mine, something I always come back to and love and respect. And but I didn't really know how to make a record like that. I'd been listening to it my whole life, but being so active in metal, I didn't know what it was going to be like to make one. So I tried, and the album was, I would say it was okay at best. But I had some people from the Christian music industry that had reached out and just said, hey, we really love that you're doing this and we want to help, you make great records. And so I signed a deal with a label and put out a full length. And then, recently started working with a different label. And living in Nashville, there's just access to so many great writers and people that want to help me share my heart in that way and in that format. And so I've been, writing with guys and making music and, putting out songs that I hope will do for other people what Christian radio has always done for me, which is, just a constant reminder that God is good and he loves us, that he's here for us. And that, that when everything else is crazy, God remains the same and steady. So.
That's good.
What kind of music do you listen to when you're not doing your own music? What kind of music are you listening to, Matty?
I actually really listen to Christian radio most days. It's funny, like we've toured with, Metallica and Linkin Park and Slayer and all these bands, but I'll come home and listen to Matthew West. That is the honest to God truth. I think, just being raised on Christian radio and, my first live show I ever saw was Jars of Clay, headlining Jesus Northwest, because I grew up in Washington State. It's just for me, like I love hard rock and heavy metal because being able to express your opinion so loudly and the live energy and everything about it is so awesome. And there's a lot of people that listen to that kind of music and come out to shows that feel alone and they're looking for someone that will understand what it is they're going through. And so God allows me to be in those spaces and to relate to people that I think a lot of other CCM artists probably couldn't. But at the same time, I love coming home and listening to music that will, give me a spiritual experience, and for me, I feel like having been given the gift of music, there's no greater honor than using that gift to make music that gives that back to God, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so, the honest truth is that me pursuing CCM does not help my rock and metal career at all. It actually hurts it. There's a lot of people that are.
That's a good point.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that are, without knowing me personally, will get really offended at the fact that I would like to tell them about Jesus. But man, having gone through what I've gone through, I have to do this. It's like having the cure for cancer and staring a cancer patient in the eyes and not saying anything at all. And so I love CCM. I love writing this kind of music, as strange as it might be. I think there was a headline that came out when I started doing interviews for this new song. And I think it was like, a heavy metal Christian singer is not an oxymoron. It's a Matty Mullins. And I thought, man, there's really no better way to put it. I mean, this is me, both hard rock and CCM. I do both and I love both.
And are you going to continue to do both? Or are you going to, is the CCM just kind of, hey, let's give this a shot? Or is it like I could see myself moving into this full time?
I am going to continue to do both. Yeah. I mean, I've got my band members and, management, booking, all these people that have worked for us for years that rely on us. And I love that genre of music. I think God actively uses me in that genre of music and it's so cool. So the goal and the plan is to do both. I don't have any plans to move away from one or the other.
What do your bandmates, really cool. What do your bandmates have to say about the Christian side of things?
Yeah. So the guys in my band, there are some believers in the band and some that aren't, but they know me and they know my heart and they know how important this is to me. And so, regardless of personal beliefs, they're all very supportive. And, when I put out Show You the Cross, they all shared it from their personal Instagram accounts,
nice.
And
very nice.
And they, those are my brothers, those are guys that I've spent half my life with and they are not, threatened by this. We kind of giggle at comments from people that don't understand what it is that I'm trying to do. And, we just go about our way. And we've got a new Memphis record coming out this year as well. It's very loud. It's very heavy. And I think people will enjoy that, and Show You the Cross. This is for me and I'm excited about it.
When you're releasing a new metal album, you have to say that it's loud and whatever. Like that's just the basic description for any metal album, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, our last record was very much an active rock effort. We really wanted to go to active rock radio with that record. And so we worked with an active rock producer. And so I would say out of all of our albums, that was that one was on the lightest, on the lighter side. But this new one is, us kind of reconnecting to the roots of our band and what really got us started in the first place. So it's loud. It's really loud.
That's cool. I think I remember, like, I don't know, maybe it was 10 years ago or so, maybe 8. The drummer for Under Oath, Aaron Gillespie, he branched off and he did his own thing. Slightly different. He did like a pretty, worship type vibe, but
pretty,
he did his own
pretty.
thing.
You said pretty.
Yeah. But I think that, there's something interesting about like the heavier sort of metal, the punk stuff. There seems to be a pretty big bridge between, let's say, it's called, for the sake of conversation, mainstream and Christian world. I find there's a lot of overlap there. Are you seeing that? Like, do you see there's a lot of people who are in the Christian world who know you, though, who knows the band and who are tracking with you in the Christian world? Do you find there's a lot of within your fans? Do you find like the metal guys are kind of like, he has a CCM project. Awesome. Let's go for it.
I think I've got, our fan base is so diverse, right? Like we'll have 14-year-old girls and 58-year-old men at our shows, right? Like it's all over the place because we have our Warped Tour crowd, and then we have our big kind of rock festival crowd, and then we've got people that kind of knew of us when we're just starting out and kind of grown with us. I would say there's a percentage of it, right? I mean, there's like some of our younger fans that are heavily kind of into just metal and rock and everything don't even know that I have this project. Some of them have heard it and said, oh, that's not for me. I would say maybe some of our fans that were raised in the church, tend to enjoy this project quite a bit. And some of our fans that, were our age when we started out and kind of grew with us, and now they're a little bit older. Maybe they're having kids and they're listening to Christian radio. They've gotten into it. But yeah, I would say realistically, it's probably 30% of the Memphis May Fire fan base that really enjoys and listens to my solo stuff. But that's not necessarily the goal. I didn't put out songs in this format in hopes that all Memphis May Fire fans would also love my CCM stuff, if that makes sense.
Right. Exactly. Totally.
I gotta say, I'm not a big metal fan myself, but I love the ballads, because you could have a ballad that is metal, but it's not metal. Like, people wouldn't necessarily say it's a metal song because of the fact it's kind of a slower, laid back approach to metal. And longer songs, usually they tend to be longer as well. They're definitely not necessarily radio hits or whatever, but I like the ballads myself.
Yeah, me too, man. I love it all. There's a band called Firehouse from the 80s, and they had a song called Love of a Lifetime. And my wife walked down the aisle to that song.
Oh, nice.
It just big, giant guitar solos, but very much like a slow, more of a ballad kind of song. And so it was super epic. But yeah, I love it too.
Do you have any artists that you're trying to, in terms of your project, do you have any artists that have been inspirational to you in terms of like your writing or production? People that you're trying to steal from or borrow from or just learning from?
As far as this project?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I would say I've always been like the early on heavy hitters, DC Talk, Audio Adrenaline, Jars of Clay, Mercy Me, like those bands like raised me for real. And then these days, guys like Phil Wickham, I think, are just so unbelievable. Younger guys, newer guys like Brandon Lake, I think he's incredible. He's become a friend of mine recently. Jordan Feliz is a very close friend of mine, lives just down the road, and we hang out all the time. Awesome. I think that, Micah Kuiper, who played guitar in the band Hawk Nelson, is a very close friend of mine and actually produced this new song.
Nice.
And he's doing a lot of stuff. He's doing stuff for Toby and for Tate and, like Newsboy stuff and everything. He's really doing some awesome stuff. So yeah, I've got a handful of friends that I'm inspired by, and a handful of people that, I'm real heavy into barbecue. And I posted, this is real, I'm like very serious about barbecue. And I did a bunch of stories yesterday about these like filet mignon steak sandwiches that I made. And Matthew West responded, and he was like, "Dude," and I was like, I didn't even know he followed me, and I got all like nervous. We toured in Australia with Metallica, and I'd see those guys on a daily basis, and just wouldn't think anything of it because I wasn't raised on Metallica. You know what I mean? But then Matthew will direct message me, and I get my hands get sweaty. I'm like, whoa, because that's real for me.
You had me at barbecue. It's like, yeah, I'm starving.
Exactly. That's right.
Yeah. Oh man, absolutely.
'Tis the season, right?
Mm-hmm. It's been beautiful here in Nashville. So we are, really getting into, today's going to be like 80 degrees. So we're really getting into barbecue weather. And if you follow me on IG, you'll be seeing me standing out by the Traeger.
I comment and say that barbecues, this is barbecue weather, but in my book, it's always barbecue weather.
Sure.
Yep. And in our Canadian winters, I've barbecued in the past when there was snow coming down, like there was no tomorrow.
Yep.
And
Same here.
I've got a barbecue that's the gas, direct gas versus the propane tank. So this thing, you can spark it up whenever you want. And I'm actually in the market for a new barbecue now. My wife says this one's too old now. We got to get a new one, but it's the gas barbecue, and I'll spark that thing up anytime. And I don't care if it's burgers or steaks or whatever else. I'm good with just anything fresh off the grill.
Yeah. Oh man, absolutely. What part of Canada are you guys in?
Toronto area.
Cool. Love Toronto. What's the weather like there right now?
Anyways, I heard it's really nice in Nashville.
Yeah, it's kind of rainy and miserable today. So
the weather's always diverse in Canada, as you would know, and so
sure.
I can say this time of year in Toronto, it's still spring and like early spring normally. Yet out in British Columbia, which is where my parents lived for a number of years, and I would always go to visit them in say March or April or whatnot, or sometimes even in May, and like they're full on into summer already. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's always different wherever you are in Canada. And then I remember, doing business trips to Quebec, and it'd be summer in Toronto, and it's still practically winter in Quebec. It's just like crazy the diverse weather that we have. We are a diverse country. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love Canada. Every time we're up there, the shows are great, food's great. Both sides. I love Toronto. I love Vancouver. I love it all. I grew up real close to Vancouver, so we go up there all the time. There's actually a place in Vancouver called Japo Dog, and it's a Japanese hot dog stand. So you go up and you get a hot dog on a bun, and then they'll put like lo mein on it, right?
Oh my gosh!
So I've always thought that was just like so fascinating. But I love Canada, absolutely.
So Vancouver was a hot spot for you to visit.
Yeah, absolutely. And to tour in as well. We have great shows there. So, and just all throughout Canada, it's such a great place. I feel like, because we don't get up there as often as we, just tour through the States. So when we're there, it just feels like fans are hungry for it and excited. So, yeah.
Generally speaking, I would say fans are hungry for, American artists to come up to Canada. We don't get to see that as much because there's obviously issues with getting equipment over the border and also the personnel over the border. I know with Newsboys, Newsboys was scheduled to come 2 or 3 different times, and each show got canceled because of various reasons. I think Michael Tate had an issue where it was a speeding ticket from 10 years prior, and it was still sitting on his record or something like that. It was long gone. Like, it was ridiculous.
It's crazy.
And the Border Patrol would say, nope, sorry, you've got something on your record. It's like, really? Yeah. Come on.
In our experience, we've had more trouble getting back into the States from Canada.
Well, we don't want you to leave. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. Yeah. That's why.
The Border Patrol is like, I know you just left a couple days ago, but you do have this speeding ticket from 2001. And they always question you pretty heavy, but yeah, man, we get up there pretty often, and I'm sure as soon as touring comes back full fledged, we'll be back up. I'd love to hang out with you guys when we're in the area.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be really nice. We have missed that even now as we chat with you because of the various restrictions that we have in our neck of the woods. Drew, you haven't physically been in the studio with me for 3 months, maybe longer.
Yeah, longer.
And even before, when you did come into the studio to record, we would be in separate studios with glass between us and, being safe and everything else that you're supposed to do. But even now we've even restricted that even more. So Drew is in his home studio, and because I do the morning show at the radio station, I'm already at the studio. So I'm in one of the studios here, and we're talking, and I'm visually able to see Drew on FaceTime just so I can get some facial gestures from when, and whatever other means of communication he tends to show me with his hands or whatever. And
that's actually really smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's the way we're able to, make things work with technology. Like you say, people have adapted to technology over the last 12 months. Certainly if you had asked me a little over a year ago what Zoom was, I wouldn't have a clue.
Me neither.
Right.
Yeah. Imagine being that company. Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh,
having grown beyond your capacity, even, you know what I mean? Like a lot of online businesses that we're doing, I own a hair product company, and we do all online sales. We don't have brick and mortar. And so, for us, it wasn't an issue at all, but people that were, think about like people who made masks and like all this stuff, just like companies that absolutely exploded. It's really been a wild year.
And watching the mask prices go down too, because I remember my wife would buy this box of 50 disposable masks for whatever price, and like 3 months later, it's like 50% of that price, and now it's gone down even further because there's so many manufacturers, and it's so much more readily available. And who would have thought, even at the beginning of 2020, if somebody had told me you'll be wearing a mask for a year, I would have laughed. It's like, yeah, what are you talking about? Seriously?
I know. Yeah, you could buy a gallon of hand sanitizer for like 90 cents.
Yeah.
it's really crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So between masks and physical distancing, who would have thought? And then I remember somebody asked me, how long do you think this thing's gonna last? And of course, I remember SARS, I remember N1, F1, or N191 or whatever it was called. Yeah. I remember all those days, and there'd be some concern, and make sure you stay a safe distance away, make sure you don't go to work. If you're sick, make sure you wash your hands. Hearing all that stuff and thinking, this thing's done within a few months, no big deal,
And here we are.
Here we are. We've got some festivals this summer that haven't been canceled yet, and so we're holding on tight.
Yeah, I'm optimistic. Yeah, I'm really optimistic. I think there's a number of reasons. They've talked about the herd immunity, as well as that combined, I guess, with vaccines going out and stuff. And I know there's anti-vaxxers out there. Some people will say they'll never get a vaccine, which is fine. That's their prerogative. Sure. But especially when it comes to herd immunity, I'm really looking forward to that day. And I'm hearing so much about the States and Canada specifically. I mean, the border's still closed, but the fact that more and more people are getting vaccinated has me optimistic, because then, number one, they can open the border so people can take vacations that they've been dying to do, but also we'll be able to see some of these concerts happening again.
Yes.
I'm hoping. Can I say I'm hoping? I hope I'm not being too optimistic. I'm hoping for a rather normal summer. If you can remember what that is, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We got so into socially distant activities like kayaking and things like that we're probably going to get back to this summer. Everyone's vaccinated or already had it or whatever, and you'll still kind of feel weird if you go up for a hug. You know what I mean? You're like, I think it's done something mentally. It'll take a little bit time to get back to feeling normal again, but I'm optimistic as well.
I will say that there are some things that I hope don't go away. Like I've really found, and I think I might have mentioned this to you in the past, Drew, that I found Sundays to be a lot more relaxing than they used to be for me. And the reason why is because Sunday mornings for me, I found generally speaking Sundays to be a rather stressful day. Part of it is because I have to go to bed a lot earlier because I got the morning show to do the next day. So my Sunday is a shorter day than most people. And then you get up in the morning, you're racing to use the washroom and brush your teeth and shower and stuff, gulp down some breakfast real quick, jump in the car, get to church on time. And then you're at church, you're there for however long, and then you're grabbing lunch. And now you're exhausted because you've been racing all morning, right? You're exhausted, and it's just like, okay, where's the day gone? Whereas now, I mean, I'm having breakfast listening to a sermon. And I don't have to dress up. I'm just in what I call my indoor clothes, right? I just can relax and veg. And I find because of that, Sundays are a lot more relaxing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's something to be said for not having, church community, because that does make a big difference. But I agree with you. My wife and I went to City Church, which is now Church Home. When we lived in Seattle, Judah Smith is the pastor there. And, so we watch his sermons on Sundays here, and sometimes we'll have our neighbors over and things like that. But yeah, it has kind of created a different dynamic. I think, for my sister and her kids, she really liked going to church. The childcare there is awesome. And they could, her and her husband could just like enjoy the sermon. But my wife and I, without having kids, we do just kind of enjoy our time at home together, watching sermons and diving in, whether it's with a few friends or not.
Mm-hmm. It's a totally different dynamic, but it is wonderful to be able to sort of have a more relaxed Sunday.
Sure.
I miss being with my people, but it's really, really good to sort of just chill at home with the family, to sort of ease into Sunday and still learn and grow and still have time to connect. But I do miss, my humans, my community humans.
I think the connections I miss are the coffee times. Like not necessarily sitting in a pew or on a chair in church versus the time, whether it's after the service or elsewhere at the coffee shop.
Before.
Just chilling and having a coffee and having those conversations, those connections. That's the part that I've missed.
Yep.
That's
absolutely.
it. I mean, that's what it is, man. I'm curious. You're releasing sort of singles here and there. What's kind of like your plan for the next 6 months in terms of music? I mean, apart from touring, because we'll see what happens there. But in terms of like releasing music, what are you up to? What's your plan? I'm always curious what artists are doing in this day and age.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a firm believer in the fact that hip hop has kind of been doing it right for a long time. It's taken everybody else to catch up. But I think that singles are the new way of the world. I think that because music is consumed digitally now and physical discs are no longer, aside from vinyl, no longer really valued. I have a new car that doesn't have a CD player in it. So because CDs are kind of outdated at this point, people are consuming music through playlists. And even when you go to an artist's album on their artist page on Spotify or Apple Music, there's the stars next to the songs that are singles or, have done better. And oftentimes people are focusing so much on those songs and listening to those songs that the other 9 or 10 songs on the album go unnoticed. And sometimes you've got a lot of really great songs that go unnoticed. You can only go to radio with so many songs in an album cycle because it takes time for a song to go to radio and start doing well and then fall off. And then, you go on to the next one and all this stuff. So I just, I don't even know if I necessarily believe in albums anymore. The importance of them. I think it'll take forever before, if people ever were to stop really doing it in that way. But yeah, I think, for us with the band, we've recorded a bunch of songs that's more than enough for an album, but I think we're just going to be releasing them as singles. And, with my solo project, and being something that's, on top of already doing the band full time, I think I just want to put out singles. To be honest, maybe we'll get to the point where 5 or 6 is out. We'll package it as an EP. But until then, it's a lot of fun to release one song at a time and just really see a lot of focus go into each.
Can I say, Matty, from my perspective, and I'm the radio guy, Drew is the musician, artist, producer, that's his world. But for me in the radio side of things, I actually find singles easier to deal with and to handle. And part of the reason for that is because if you release a song and say the song was on an album, and I release it or I start playing it and I'm telling my listeners that it's a new song. Well, it's not really a new song because it was on an album that got released eight months ago. It's not a new song. And the question would then be, well, why wasn't I playing it earlier, right? Even though you haven't officially released it to radio yet. Whereas singles, it's just like, but now like for singles, and I know radio doesn't get all the singles because you're releasing them so fast, but certainly the streaming services allow you to test the waters as far as what's going to be a big single, what is getting a lot of listens. And from there, you can release it to radio. And again, I don't necessarily promote it as a new song, although I will say your latest song, Show You the Cross, I introduced as one of our features at the radio station. Every Monday, we show off a new song. And so it's called New Music Monday. And we promoted the fact that, hey, brand new music from Matty Mullins, Show You the Cross and that sort of thing. And it was new, right? And it was timely and it was a great message behind it and everything else. But yeah, I think singles, it is the evolution. And I think I agree that more and more people are going to be doing that. Just to produce an album is so costly anyways.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if it was possible for an entire album to be consumed in a way that, you could go in and you could spend the money that it takes to make an album and put the marketing into what it takes to market an album and all those things. And then, enough people were saying, I really want front to back this album, every song. I love it all, but I just don't see music being consumed that way anymore. It's all about playlisting and radio and all those things. And so for me, especially with how busy I am with everything I have going on, it makes most sense to do singles. And yeah, what you said, it is funny, like you'll be like, here's the new song from Lauren Daigle, and the album came out a year ago. Right.
Yeah.
And it's all, strange concept, because people who really do love Lauren, have been listening to that song a lot. And so it's not as exciting for them on the radio.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I put out a song and go to radio with it and everything, I do want it to be fresh. And so that's, at least for me, that's my plan.
It kind of drives me nuts sometimes, because I'll see an artist, you or anyone else for that matter, and they'll promote the fact that, hey, I got a surprise for you. I got a new song dropping on Friday, and I'm kind of biting my tongue, thinking, is this going to be for radio, or is it just for the streaming services? Because a lot of times it's just for streaming. Like, I know that I've seen artists where they'll promote the fact that they got a brand new song coming out, but it's not for radio.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I look at it and say, wow, what a great song. It would sound so good on the radio.
Right.
And then sometimes I'll add it anyways, just add it into rotation. I have to be careful with that though, because if I add it and then it becomes a radio single, I don't want to tire out my listeners where they've already heard it for the last 6 months or so. And it's still, because it's a new song, it's in high rotation, but it was already in high rotation before, right? It's kind of, now it sounds old, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's so fascinating, the whole process and everything that goes into it. I don't think the average radio listener understands how much thought and timing and planning and everything has to go into that. And so, for me in my situation, this really does make the most sense.
Now, you say you're busy. So besides being in two different music groups, or two different music projects, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
What are you up to?
So, the band is very much a full-time thing. I've taken on the role over the last 15 years of being the one that communicates with management and label and everybody, full-time. And then obviously with the solo stuff, that's a whole nother thing. And I own a hair product company called On Point Pomade. It's a men's grooming line. We have two different styles of pomades for two different styles of, hair. And we also do a beard oil. I've been really into, ever since I was young, I've always wanted to, look slick. That was always kind of a thing for me. I love barbershop culture. I think it's a trade that will never go away. So for me, it's, it's fascinating. I love it. That's why I do it. And then on top of that, I manage two different pop artists from Nashville here. Just people that are awesome, that I've seen a lot of talent and, very promising futures for them. And so I've invested time into them to help them and give them resources however I can. It's a lot. I've gotten really into since the pandemic started. I've gotten really into the audio production side of things as well. I built out a studio in the house, and I've gotten really interested in just learning how to produce my own vocals. And so, I've just kind of a lot going on at once. And I can't fail to mention barbecue, of course, is a hobby that takes up a lot of time. So,
of course.
It's a hobby that turns into a full-time career.
Yeah, I honestly want to go down. So the label that I'm signed to is called Black River. And they've got, like Hannah Kerr and Josh Wilson, great label, awesome label. I really want to, as soon as, people are going back to the office and it feels a little more safe, I think I'm going to bring my smoker down there and I'm going to do a brisket for the whole office. I think that sounds like a bunch of fun. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can remember years ago working for a company, and that's how the president of the company would reward the staff with a good sales month. It was all measured. We'd see how we were doing throughout the month. And when it was a good sales month, even if it was in the middle of winter in Canada, his promise would be that he would go out and barbecue lunch for everybody.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So when it's, really, really cold, like freezing weather in the middle of the winter time, and you see, the president of the company out grilling, him frozen, and you got this nice hot burger or whatever else he's serving up that day. Oh, yeah. It was so well worth all the effort of getting those sales up. Can I say?
That's very cool. That's very cool.
So The everything that you've talked about, all these different, you got your fingers in so many different pies and stuff. If you don't mind me asking, because it's been one of these years where a lot of artists have suffered with the lack of concerts and the lack of revenue coming in. Where does a guy like you that is in two different musical groups, solo and then the group, and then with your hairline product, where does the revenue come from? Is it coming from streaming services? Are people listening to your stuff and that's helping pay the bills, or what?
I think for every artist, it's different. For us, obviously we own all of our own merchandise, so we do online sales for merchandise. We obviously streaming comes in, and, we've signed a new record deal during the pandemic and have spent time working on a new record. And our guitar player, Kellen, is actually the one that produced the album. So he made money, for producing the album. And, obviously my hair product line, it's kind of just like a bunch of different things, for me specifically. I think for every artist, it's very different. Depending on your record deal, maybe you don't own your merchandising rights. And, depending on your record deal, maybe you don't make any money on streams, so it's, right. I'm sure it could be very challenging for bands who solely relied on touring income, and even more so for the hired guns.
Yeah.
Guys that would go out with bands and have devoted their life to being A-list crew members. I mean, with some of the guys that work on our crew are second to none, front of house engineers that have been doing it half their life, and they're unbelievable at what they do. And just the whole thing got swept out from under their feet. They can't sign a record deal. They can't put out an album, people like our booking agent, Dave Shapiro, he's one of my favorite people in the world, and incredible at what he does, swept out from under his feet, So I think that, have artists struggled and, had a very challenging year? Absolutely. But I do think that there's other people involved in the music industry that have had it even harder. And so my heart goes out to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And the barbers and the hairdressers as well. I will say, because in my neck of the woods, we've been on a lockdown, and basically barbers and hairdressers have been out of work. They cannot be doing their craft since November.
That makes me so sad.
And you being in the hair product business, you can feel for them, right? And
absolutely.
Drew doesn't have a lot on the top of his head. I have a little bit. I don't have as much. He's got the beard going, right?
I got the beard though. Yeah. I can't get it trimmed because they don't do. But you can't go to the shop.
But you could trim your own beard and probably get away with it, right?
It's not the
my
same,
wife has offered to cut my hair, and I'm scared. And so when you talk about hair product, and you hear people, normally women, but you hear a lot of people say, I don't put product in my hair. Can I tell you that hair gel has kept my hair in place for months now, but I'm dying for a haircut.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I got to send you guys out some products so you can try it.
There you go. You see? And I wasn't even trying to get product there. I was just giving you my sob story, and look at that,
Oh, I'd love to.
Please
I'd love to.
Send the beard oil, man.
I will absolutely do it. Make sure you email Dawn and give me your addresses. I'd love to send some stuff out for you guys.
Oh, amazing.
You've got another customer out of Drew, that's for sure. I'm seeing the look on his face right now. He's got a big smile, and he's rubbing his beard thinking, this is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. No, our barbershops and salons here, in Nashville, we did have the lockdown and things were closed for quite some time. But, I think there's a lot of other areas that have been closed down even longer. And so, my barber is a very close friend of mine. I was just in his wedding a couple weeks ago, and they were closed down for maybe a month or two, and then ended up being able to open back up, with masks and things like that. So here in Nashville, it hasn't been quite as upsetting, but for those barbers and cosmetologists out there that have lost their jobs for a lengthy period of time, my heart's broken for them. I know that's a hard business. You're on your feet all day. You go and you grind. You want to be creative and with the styles that you're doing and everything, and having that taken away from you had to be really hard. So.
Oh, completely. We have here in Ontario in Canada, a lot of the musicians and the tech people, the crew folks are trying to find ways in which we can, make some money, but still put out some great content for people. And
Sure.
so there's the live stream thing, as you know, is like huge. And so in the city, right? It's like everybody's doing it and it's great. And so about 3 or 4 venues in the downtown core, they decided to revamp their facility because they can't have any shows there, and they're still paying rent or a mortgage to be there. And so they're like, we need to survive or else we're going to close down. And we've already seen a number of spots close down in the city. And so they've been revamping the whole entire thing to make it like a really cool, like live streaming facility for bands, for speakers, for conferences, for whatever. And some of the projects have been fantastic. But then recently, they actually decided to close down all like live streaming in venues in the city. So we can't even do that. And so so many crew members are kind of like, well, then what can we do? And so it's such a hard season for the barbershops, for the crew people, for musicians, just trying to find different ways to kind of create some income because it like just so difficult right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, it's so heartbreaking. You know, one of my favorite smaller rock clubs here in Nashville called Exit In just announced that they're selling to a hotel developer. And I mean, I'm equally sad for the venue to go away and also sad for the hotel company that bought it because there is nobody in that area of town that's going to support that hotel. You know, everybody wanted that venue to stay open.
That's right.
You know, there's petitions going around, but it's like, man, without, you know, the end really being in clear sight right now, it's like they just had to do what they had to do. And it's terrible. Yeah. That venue is absolutely amazing. And to see it go away is just, it's a catastrophe.
You know, from a record deal aspect for artists and musicians, it's probably been the last year has probably been a big learning environment for people because, you know, with a lot of your revenue streams gone, live concerts and whatever else, I would think that people entering into record deals would certainly be a lot more knowledgeable than they were previously. You know, you mentioned the fact that you own all your merch, whereas some people might not. And, you know, going into a new record deal, maybe they want to change things up a bit so that they have that cushion or at least that availability of income in the future should something like this happen again.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think that anybody that has a good attorney is, you know, knows what they're getting themselves into, and that's not everybody, obviously, right?
Well, Kanye West obviously didn't have a good attorney when he. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. It's you know, when you sign a deal as a young artist, it's not so much. It is sometimes that you don't know exactly what you're signing, but it's also that there's just not much you can ask for. You know, this label saying, here we are to give you something that we know that you need, but we're going to take a lot as well, you know, and you have to kind of bite the bullet and say, you know what? All right. So my advice for anybody signing record deals has just been, you know, try to get everything that you can, you know, retain as much ownership as you can and sign the shortest contract possible, because, you know, like if you explode as an artist, you should not be under the same terms that you were under when you signed as a risk for that label, you know? And so, you know, we're on our, I don't know, 7th record deal at this point. And it's been a lot. It's been a lot of learning curves, but every time we sign, something gets better. And so, you know, we like to sign for 1-2 albums at a time at max, but some people just don't have the option. So
do you sign by album or time or both?
It is by album, but then there's always a grace period after the album comes out where you can't do something else, right? Okay, so usually contractually it'd be about a 12-month grace period from release date. You know, we had ours negotiated down to 9. So once we put out our second album in this deal, we'll have 9 months where we can't do anything. But usually those are the 9 months when we'll be making a new album and so on and so forth. So yeah, you know, like if you play the game right, I think that the label can win and the artist can win at the same time. But you have to fight for it. You know, it's a business where you have to fight for it.
It's that non-compete period of time. And exactly. That's in radio where you change your name so that way you can still do business.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Well, you do what you can, right? You do what you can.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, an artist could do the same thing, right? Prince did that.
Sure.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know? That's true.
Yeah. So, as long as you're signed as an artist and not signed, you know, signed as a band name and not signed as an individual, which in most cases, you know, you do sign as an individual.
Yeah. I mean, if it were a band, you could say the band formerly known as whatever, right?
Right.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. Anything's possible. But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, what a great honor and privilege to chat with you, Matty. Just a fun conversation. Great to see how things are going with you. Really excited. I'm particularly excited for your solo career.
Thank you.
In the CCM world. I'm just loving what I'm hearing. And as I said, I'm not a big metal fan, but if you got some good ballads coming out, I'm interested in that as well. And
Sure.
and I think they should introduce ballads into the CCM world too. I mean, it may not be a radio hit, but why not?
I agree.
They have
Absolutely.
ballads?
Well, they do, but I'm talking long ballads. Like, everybody tends to make their songs short because of the possibility of putting it on the radio, and so you don't necessarily hear. Like, don't make a ballad to send to radio because
Sure.
the Stairway to Heavens are going to be very few and far between, right? Or the Bohemian Rhapsody or whatever, right? So don't make it necessary for radio, but I think there's still a market for it. Or maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me that likes the ballads, and so just record a ballad for me. I'm good with that too. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Hey, I feel the same way. Thank you guys so much for having me and just taking time to hear my story a little bit. This was a really fun interview to do. You guys are so awesome and laid back. And like I said, take me up on my offer when we're out there in Toronto. I'd love to put you on the guest list, have you guys out at a show.
Awesome.
Oh, I love you.
You're the best.
Yeah, you guys are awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me.
I never expected that. What a fun guy.
Yeah. That was great.
He's
tons of fun.
he's a busy guy. Like, given the fact that
He
the
is.
last year has been a crazy year for a lot of people, that has not slowed him down. Really.
Yeah.
So everything from the hair products to the metal music to the solo project, this guy and he's so knowledgeable too, like he's been around the block enough times to know how everything works, whether it's the record deal or, what to do with his time, keeping busy and everything else. What a great conversation with him.
I think it's smart for him to do the multiple income streams and the multiple projects to kind of keep his brain going. Smart guy, creative guy, and definitely follows Instagram because the barbecue stuff is legit. Oh my goodness.
I'm hungry. Let's have a barbecue.
Same here.
Let's go.
Let's do it, man. I'm in.
But before we do that, it's time now for artist advice, and we bring back a previous guest, Chris Bray.
Continually be attentive to what God is calling you to do. I think we can sometimes get stuck in the rut of doing the same thing over and over and over again because it worked for a while, but that's not necessarily what God wants us to be doing right now. And we got to be attentive to that.
Be attentive to what God is calling you to. And it's great words of wisdom from Chris. Great guests when he joined us on Between the Grooves. Interestingly, when you compare that to what Matty Mullins has been up to, and looking at his music, and of course his first big introduction, I guess, to the world as far as music is concerned, is in a metal band. But him feeling the call of God to do the solo stuff as a Christian artist, and doing that at the same time with his band members supporting him, fully supporting him, and
That's right.
recognizing his faith and supporting his faith. So I think that's awesome just to see that and being willing to listen to what God is saying and then actually doing it.
That's the key.
Yeah.
I was going to add that. Actually following through is really
Exactly.
key. Yeah, the listening and then the responding. That's so good. I'm so thankful. Thanks so much for that great word of wisdom, Mr. Chris Bray. Woohoo!
And thank you to Matty Mullins for joining us this week on Between the Grooves. We have new episodes dropping every single Monday, so make sure you leave us a rating and a review. Help us reach more people.
We're also on Facebook and Twitter. Hit us up there for sure, at Between Grooves. We would love to connect with you on those two platforms because it's fun and it's cool.